Hey Billy, I think I found out what the final boss of Monster Hunter Rise will be. Really? Is it Plesioth? No, it's not Plesioth, Billy.
Oh, it will be me.
No, it's not going to be you either. If you've played Monster Hunter long enough, you probably know that Capcom never shows the final boss of the game, and we find out what exactly that monster is when the game releases. Naturally, there are curious people out there that try to discover and predict what the final boss will be beforehand by analyzing the trailers, the logo, and things like that. That's exactly what I've done for Monster Hunter Rise, and I believe I may have found what the final monster will be like. Now obviously this is just going to be my personal theory, and you should take some things that I will say with a grain of salt. And if you're not going to agree with me on certain things, that's completely fine, and feel free to let me know why in the comment section. And with all of that being said, let's start our journey as we try and foretell what the final battle will be. The theme for Monster Hunter Rise is Japanese mythology and folklore. We've seen this countless times. For example, the monster Gossarak is inspired from Namahage, which in traditional Japanese folklore is a demon-like being. And the Rampage, an event where countless monsters attack the village all at once, is based off another Japanese folklore, Night Parade of 100 Demons. So I think it would be safe to say that the final boss of the game will be inspired from Japanese mythology. After realizing this, I went on the internet to read some Japanese legends. There are quite a few, but the one that stood out to me the most was the Japanese creation myth. This is probably the most famous Japanese legend as it comes from the first book written in Japan, Record of Ancient Matters. If you were going to make the final boss of a game based on Japanese mythology, then what is more perfect than the most popular Japanese legend that literally explains the creation of the universe? I'm not going to describe everything, but basically here's what happens. In a formless chaos of a dark, silent universe, particles begin to move and create sound. The lightest particles rise to form the heavens, and the remaining particles drop down and create a mass called Earth. Two gods, Izanagi and Izanami, are summoned and told to descend to the land to rule. Thus, life on Earth begins. Then some things happened between the two, and eventually Izanagi divorced his wife. But Izanami wasn't really okay with this and said that she would take 1,000 of the living each day if he did. Izanagi replied that he would give life to 1,500 each day. Thus, death was introduced to the world. This specific part of the story reminds me of yin and yang, which is a concept of dualism, and describes how two opposite things could actually be complementary and interconnected. This is an ancient Chinese philosophy, but it was actually transmitted to Japan around 1500 years ago. So my theory is that the final boss of Monster Hunter Rise will be inspired from this concept. And if this is true, we should expect the monster to not only be one monster, but two monsters, in the sense that either it'll be a monster with two heads or two monsters that are connected, like the scrapped cobra-like monster. Or maybe the final battle will actually include two monsters, like two eagles or something. The Monster Hunter Rise logo in a way actually confirms my theory. If we take a close look at it, we see that there are two monsters, most likely two dragons or two snake-like monsters. I'm leaning more towards the latter, as the heads of those two monsters to me look more like the heads of Najarela or Dalamador, rather than the head of a dragon like Rathalos. Anyway guys, let me know what you think of this theory, and if you have any other theories regarding the final boss of the game, I would appreciate it if you could share them in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. GameXNations is the best channel in the world.